The camera zooms into a lavish, silent ballroom, glittering lights, clinking glasses, but the only sound that breaks through is the uneven tapping of a little boy's crutch. A hush falls. The billionaire watches, stunned, as his wheelchair-bound son, who hasn't smiled in years, shakily rises from his chair, and a black waitress, barefoot on polished marble, reaches out her hand. "Want a lead?" she whispers. The boy nods. The crowd gasps. The boy takes a step, then another. His father drops his champagne glass, and everything he believed about money, love, and miracles shatters in that moment. New York City, 7 p.m., the Fairmont Grand Hotel. Richard Langston had built empires. He'd bought out Fortune 500 companies before breakfast, but tonight he was only a man, in a tuxedo, with a broken heart. Beside him sat his 8-year-old son, Caleb, paralyzed from the waist down since the car crash that killed his wife 2 years ago. The boy hadn't spoken a full sentence in months. Physical therapy failed. Nothing made him smile anymore. The billionaire's birthday gala bustled with influencers, politicians, and venture capitalists. Yet Richard sat in silence beside his son, watching others dance in their ball gowns and tuxedos. His world, for all its wealth, felt colder than ever. Waitstaff moved with precision, but one in particular caught Richard's eye. She was a young black woman, maybe early 20s, with box braids tied into a bun and sneakers peeking from under her skirt. She was humming, actually humming. Waitresses didn't hum at billionaire galas, but she did. Her name tag read Nia. She wasn't looking for tips. She was moving from table to table with rhythm, spinning trays like it was choreography. And then she paused near Richard's table, unaware of who he was. Nia's eyes landed on Caleb. She knelt down, her face level with the boy's. "Hey, you," she smiled. "You like music?" Caleb looked away. Nia tilted her head, whispering, "You don't have to answer. Just feel it." Then she stood, snapped her fingers lightly, and began to sway. A few guests stared. A waitress dancing? But Nia didn't care. She danced just enough to let Caleb see what joy looked like again. Richard frowned. "Excuse me, this is a formal event. What are you—" But before he could finish, he saw something he hadn't seen in years. Caleb smiled. It was small, barely a twitch, but it was there. Richard watched in disbelief. Nia wasn't just dancing, she was inviting. She turned to Caleb and extended her hand. "I can follow," she said gently, "but only if you lead." Guests began murmuring. "Is she serious? That's Langston's boy." "Security!" But Richard raised a hand. "Wait." Caleb stared at Nia's hand. Something deep inside shifted, like ice cracking beneath the surface. He placed his small fingers in hers. The room went quiet. Nia stepped back slowly, guiding Caleb's wheelchair toward the dance floor. Then she knelt again, placing his feet on the marble. "No pressure," she whispered. "Just one step." Caleb hesitated. Then he stood, shaky, wobbling, gripping Nia's hand tight. A woman in the crowd gasped. Another took out her phone, filming with a trembling hand. Nia didn't flinch. She swayed again. "You're doing great." Caleb mimicked the motion, his knees trembling, but a grin lighting his face like the chandelier overhead. Tears filled Richard's eyes. He stood frozen, watching his son, trapped for years in silence and fear, suddenly moving, laughing, dancing. And the waitress? She danced beside him like it was the most normal thing in the world. Richard's business partner leaned in. "You should stop this. It's embarrassing." But Richard didn't hear him. His mind was somewhere else. Back to the crash. Back to his wife's last words. Back to the promise he never fulfilled. "Don't let our son forget how to feel." And now in front of everyone, a waitress with no degree, no billions, no legacy, had done what therapists, doctors, and specialists could not. She made his son feel again. After the dance, Nia helped Caleb back to his wheelchair. The crowd clapped. Some cried. Others shook their heads in disbelief. Richard approached her, slow and careful. "Who are you?" he asked, voice cracking. Nia shrugged. "Just Nia. I serve tables, I dance when I can, and I listen when nobody else does." You do more than that, he said. You gave my son something I couldn't buy. Nia glanced at Caleb, who now twirled the wheels of his chair with newfound energy. Richard turned to the crowd and said loudly, "This woman just changed my life." A silence fell. Then he faced Nia again. "I want to offer you something." She laughed nervously. "Sir, I'm not looking for—" "Let me finish," Richard said. "I've offered people jobs, bought out dreams, written billion-dollar checks. But I've never meant a word more than this." He kneeled down, a billionaire on one knee in front of a waitress, and said, "I want to hire you, not as a waitress, as my son's dance teacher, life coach, whatever you want to be. Name your price." Nia blinked. "I don't care what the world thinks," Richard continued. "If you can bring him back to life, I'll do whatever it takes." Tears filled Nia's eyes. "I'm not qualified." "You're the most qualified person I've ever met." Then Caleb chimed in, his voice soft but real. "Dad, can Nia come home with us?" It was the first sentence he had spoken in 2 years. Richard's breath caught. He nodded, and the room erupted into applause. Weeks later, a new video circulates online, not of boardrooms or business deals, but of Caleb dancing in a sunlit garden, with Nia spinning beside him. Richard watches from the patio, smiling. The billionaire who thought he had everything learned that healing doesn't come from money, but from moments. And it all began with a barefoot waitress who dared to let a child lead.